Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
Welcome everybody. Whatever time zone you're in, it's lovely to see people arriving. So I'm sitting here feeling a lot of gratitude for people's practice and their dedication to keep turning up to this space. So we're going to spend about 10 minutes just sitting together. So if you want to do whatever it is you do, that is your version of preparing to sit, then let's all do that together. And just while we're sitting together, I just wanted to read something from Suzuki Roshi's book. Our way of sitting is for you to become yourself. Katagiri Roshi always says, to settle oneself on oneself, to be yourself. Suzuki Roshi said, when you become yourself, at that moment your practice includes everything. When you become yourself, at that moment your practice includes everything. Whatever there is, it is a part of you. You practice with everyone, in the future and in the past. So in this moment, just sitting with everything that's present to you, whatever that is, being yourself. So please join with me in saying the verse of the robe. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. So, welcome again. Some people have been joining us as we've been sitting. And I've been thinking a lot about this comment about when you become yourself, at that moment your practice includes everything. Whatever there is, it is a part of you. And as someone who's kind of amused by language, I was thinking that we often think of ourselves as either larks or owls, you know. And currently there's a meme at the moment that says, I'm not an early bird or a night owl, I'm some form of permanently exhausted pigeon. And in a way, I was thinking, that's how I want to be with you tonight. Something about, yeah, that's probably where I am at the moment. And Flint quoted in one of his talks, and I think probably said it last time, was talking to Kim Nuchel about entrustment and sharing the parts of her that were unsure or inadequate. And he said, some version of everything gets entrusted. And Suzuki Roshi is saying, when you become yourself, at that moment your practice includes everything. So in the spirit of including everything, I'm here as a tired, very willing pigeon. So I'm delighted to be with people and delighted to be here and wanting to offer what I can offer from this place. So that quote that I read at the beginning, Katagiri Roshi always saying to settle oneself on oneself, just to be yourself. Whenever you become yourself at that moment, your practice includes everything. Whatever there is, it is a part of you. You practice with everyone in the future and in the past, which also includes your future and your past, not just everyone else's. We are this moment an expression of our entire lives and all the lives that have gone before us, and that's our practice. And last time I talked about Suzuki Roshi saying sharing the feeling with mountains and trees and people. And I was intrigued and wondered about offering you maybe a slightly different way of listening tonight. One of the practices that we sometimes offer in a Hakomi setting is called the reclining Buddha. And some of you may have done it in various other ways. And in this practice, there's a talker and an active listener and a third person who just rests and quite often actually reclines. And that person, the person who is enacting the reclining Buddha, doesn't listen, doesn't focus on the narrative, but rather listens as if they were lying on a beach to the sounds of the waves and the susurration of the pebbles as they move and just the sound, or listening to the birds in the trees or the wind soughing across grass. You know, to be with the feeling of the mountains and the trees. So I was wondering about what it would be like tonight for people not to follow the story. I don't think it's because I think it's Not because I hope I've got something interesting to say, but it's more like what happens if you follow the feeling, if you share in the feeling. So I'm going to invite everyone to be present as reclining Buddhas, because of course you are, and to see what happens if you feel like you don't have to listen hard, but maybe you listen soft. Maybe you just listen really soft and see what happens inside of you. Yeah. And I wanted to start with this poem by Rosemary Watola Trommer, because it encapsulates in poetic form all the themes I'm kind of curious about. And it's called Could It Happen Here? And it's triggered by a line from Mark Nepo, which is listen to the rhythm of things that never die. So that was his line. And her poem is, worried about what was to come, I went to the river, and I listened to the constant song as water met stone, met log, met wall, the endless white hush of it. Song of building up banks, song of tearing them down, song of surrender to invisible force, song of change that is ever the same and not the same. And in the listening I found refuge, not in the longing to hide, not in the sound. I found refuge in the listening, refuge in the opening of the senses, in attuning to what is here, wave and current, and eddy and flow, and the attentiveness that lives through this woman. And I listened and listened and listened to it all, and was opened by listening. At some point, the listener disappeared. What was left was listening itself. And for a time, peace found me there. Just opening and surrendering to listening. And what happens when we do that? And the kind of thing I was really interested in exploring tonight was this idea of Flint often talked about the two wings of growing up and waking up. And that wing of growing up, taking responsibility for our lives, actually stepping up into the fullness of our lives and waking up to something that's much bigger than just us. And I came across a piece of writing, and I want to, my little proviso about this piece of writing is that it's generated from AI, and my internal jury is very much out at the moment on AI. And I have a real curiosity as to what's referred to in computing term as GIGO, which is garbage in, garbage out, which has been a computing term for a long time. It's like what's there is dependent on what's gone in. And so I have different thoughts about that. But in the way of these things, it's also pretty intriguing to me. So putting my quandaries momentarily aside, and in the spirit of including everything, which includes this, which I'm pretty ambivalent about, I was really intrigued by this thing that I saw, which was the psychotherapist and author Joe Nussi asked ChatGPT what they called a very provocative question. He said, what are the most brutal truths in psychology? What are the most brutal truths in psychology? That was his question. And these were the answers that ChatGPT gave. Your brain lies to you constantly. You are not a passive observer of reality or a narrator. Your brain invents stories that feel true, but are often based on cognitive biases, emotional residue, isn't that great? Emotional residue and past wounds. Knowing this, knowing that your brain lies to you constantly, lets you question your reactions instead of obeying them. Number two, what you avoid controls you. Avoidance feels like relief in the short term, but every time you dodge discomfort, you strengthen fear, shame, procrastination, or resentment. Healing, growth, success all require learning to lean into discomfort on purpose. Number 3, you're not who you think you are. You are who you practice being. Identity isn't fixed, it's a feedback loop of habits, roles, beliefs, and repeated stories. You shape who you are by what you do over and over, not by what you wish were true. If you want to change your life, start with what you repeat. Number 4, you're wired for emotion but built to regulate it. Feeling your emotions is not enough. Mental health comes from being able to name, hold, and use your emotions, not to be hijacked by them. The unregulated feel stuck. The regulated move forward even when it's hard. Number 5, you will suffer either way, so suffer for something worthwhile. AI, ChatGPT, says to us, there is no life without pain. But there is a difference between meaningless pain and meaningful sacrifice. Purpose doesn't remove suffering, it gives it a reason. Avoiding suffering is a dead end. Choosing it wisely is the path to power. So there's lots of things, aspects of the language that I kind of struggle with, certain use of the words, but I was really struck by how closely it mapped onto practice, elements of our practice for me. So the first one, your brain lies to you constantly. And in our sitting practice, I'm imagining all of us get a chance to see the themes and narratives that just rise unbidden within us. And by sitting with and not reacting to and not having to say something from them, not having to tell somebody something, just witnessing what arises in us, I think it really helps us loosen the grip of some of the stories that we have. Oh, here's my old friend procrastination. Here's my old friend poor me, whatever it is. And in our practice, ChatGPT doesn't really mention this, but in our practice we focus on impermanence as a key to softening the grip of our story making minds. We are driven physiologically to keep trying to make things permanent and solid. That's just human nature. And it's one of the most pervasive lies we tell ourselves. One of the most pervasive lies we tell ourselves, that somewhere there is something solid and permanent, including ourselves, including others. So the question always is can we practice with our conditioning, not just practice our conditioning? Can we see how we make ourselves up? Number 2, what you avoid controls you. And here ChatGPT recommends learning to lean into discomfort on purpose. And for anyone who's ever sat, I imagine there's a lot of practice on leaning into discomfort on purpose. I don't go to my sitting practice with the idea it's going to be lovely. More often, it's a question of managing my mind and my body in some degree of discomfort. And in our practice, we get to shine a light not just on our aversions, the things we move away from, the things that make us uncomfortable, but also our attractions. What are we drawn towards moving towards? And our practice is this constant invitation to find uprightness, to be sitting upright in the midst of all of those pulls, all the constant swaying about in life. And I think cultivating, the appropriate swaying of grass in the wind. It isn't about becoming rigid. It's about being able to move, but always being able to come back to this uprightness, rather than the endless seeking of comfort or the endless moving away from discomfort. You're not who you think you are. You are who you practice being. Isn't that a great way of putting it for me, this one? I love this one. And Flint has said, if you want to know what your vow is, look at your life. If you want to know what your vow is, look at what you do day to day, moment to moment, hour to hour, week to week. That's your vow. And it's not the one you wish for or the one you want to project or imagine arriving at some distant point in the future when you are, whatever, whatever the whatevers are for you, less tired, more disciplined, whatever, thinner, whatever, you'll all have the things that you add into that at some point, when you're going to be, the world will be sorted, you'll be sorted, things will be sorted. But what are you practicing right now? How are you listening? What are the voices in you doing? How are you being? What are you offering? What are you holding back? Our practice literally allows us to practice our vows, our intentions, to practice service to all beings, to wish for and support waking up, our own waking up, and for others. And of course, it really allows us to notice all the ways we don't do that and then gently and kindly begin again. Number 4, you're wired for emotion, but built to regulate it. We're wired to feel and we're wired to regulate. And I think for me, our practice and our Sangha friends and our studying, the whole lot that we can do together, the co-regulation that comes from being in a Sangha, are all ways that we can learn to expand into a greater capacity for love and connection and intimacy. We don't just regulate our emotion, we also become a bigger container for ourselves. And that's part of what the Sangha offers, part of what the teaching and the Dharma offers. If we can lean into that all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas across time and space have our backs, we can begin to feel part of a much larger system that co-regulates with us. Regulation is not an individual activity. We are social animals. We're wired to connect and wired to regulate. I'm sitting here as a tired pigeon, and it's really all right. It's really all right to be here and to be able to offer what I can from this space. And last week, Joel talked so lovely and beautifully about practice and our lives as one continuous mistake. And historically, because of my family background, I've been really prone to feeling shame and doing anything to avoid feeling that, which usually means being a smart ass. That's been mostly the way I've avoided shame. But, I can know that about myself. And the week before, after our lovely meetings, I became incapable of saying the practice principles. And I noticed that what I felt was amused and tender towards myself. And I didn't feel shame, and I felt deeply the warmth of our connection and the absolute unimportance of getting it right. And that my only task in that moment was to be present. I felt really present, incapable, but really present. And that was a really different kind of noticing for me, that I didn't have to rehash that moment afterwards. We're wired for emotion and built to regulate it. And you'll suffer either way, so suffer for something worthwhile. So ChatGPT, 2,000 years later, comes up with something not dissimilar. So in our practice, the Dharma tells us that inevitably life has suffering built into it. Impermanence, old age, illness, death, the loss of things that matter to us will happen. There aren't enough vitamins, Pilates classes, disciplines or distractions to outrun life. So the question is, what are we going to value? And what are we going to put our metaphorical shoulders to the wheel to support in our lives? What are we going to offer the world? What legacies do we want to create? What kind of good ancestor do we want to be right now while breath moves in our bodies? What are we actually going to do? What are we actually doing right this minute? So can we suffer for something worthwhile? And if we're sitting here, I'm assuming a lot of us find the Dharma worthwhile. A lot of us find practice worthwhile. A lot of us find Sangha worthwhile. And that's where we can put our intention on our vow. So I wanted to end with another Rosemary. She's clearly one of my Dharma buddies at the moment. She so often says something that feels so close. And this poem is called Intention. To wander with no plan for where it might lead, no strategy for arrival, no finish line, no pot of gold, no perfect score, no striving for. To wonder the way a small child might wonder when seeing a roly-poly for the first time. Oh, look at those legs. Look at how it curls. Look how it moves again. Feel how light it is in the palm. Feel how it tickles as it moves. Imagine an awareness that new meeting a life form that old. Can I be that new as I meet this infinite world? To wonder not just with my mind, but with my belly. To let every neuron spark, to notice where there is a channel and imagine the great wing of life is scraping it clean so the stream might flow in new ways. To notice where there is a channel and imagine the great wing of life is scraping it clean so the stream might flow in new ways. To wander beyond the edge of the known and in that spaciousness play. Just to wonder. Well, I'm really curious what it's been like for you. Maybe some of you were reclining Buddhas, just feeling, sharing the feeling. Some of you may have been listening, some of you may have been planning the next meal. I don't know. But whatever it is, I'd be delighted to meet with anybody who'd like to meet and play a little, maybe, to wander together. Cassie.
Guess I'm always willing to wander a bit.
You are.
I saw that post that you referenced, and and each one resonated in a really, oh, yeah, got that. Uh-huh. Totally understand.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't share it around very much because I thought it would be too brutal. Like they say brutal at the beginning, but it was just like, maybe that's not the kindest thing to share. But but it also is the most kind thing to share. It's
I was intrigued that it was called brutal because it just felt true to me.
true.
So I was like, oh, that's really interesting that's considered brutal.
Something really true.
It's just true. Oh, and there's other truths as well, but that felt, yeah. Is it brutal to say those things?
It's I think each one of them speaks to an illusion we carry.
Yeah.
So there's like Manjushri's sword in there.
And we have a very odd relationship with the word disillusioned, don't we?
Yeah.
because we think of disillusioned as having lovely things, like sad or loss, or, the bubble is pricked or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, waking up is to become disillusioned.
Yeah. Yeah. I had not experienced the reclining Buddha position of inquiry,
Hmm.
or komi, or whatever the process is. And it seems like so silly. I found it so relaxing. Like, oh, if you stop doing all the stuff that makes you tense.
Who knew? Who knew not trying was really quite nice?
It's really quite nice. And so then, who tries?
Great question. Who tries? Who believes that trying is going to help?
Yeah. Or that something is so lacking that the trying is required.
Yeah.
Boy, I have that one.
Yeah. So what would it be like to say there's nothing required?
A lot less anxious.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay, your lips a little anxious.
Yeah. It was, I'll tell you what that was. I know what that one was. I recently spent the weekend with some friends that I consider to have a very healthy, loving relationship. And so I was I was making up stuff about or looking to myself about, like, um what I don't offer.
Mm.
What has kept me from engaging with what I believe they do. Um and so that's what that was. And so I had a weekend of enjoying them, but also really self-conscious
Yeah. And self-critical.
and self-critical. Yeah. Yeah, I get those two confused.
Yeah.
So there it is. They're showing up right there.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So what a great edge to keep playing with is you don't have to offer anything to be enough.
yeah, yeah. They seem to enjoy me.
Yeah. Apparently I do.
So, um, there was a chat thing came up of a person asking where we saw the AI thing. I saw it in Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can find a link for it. If I can find a link for it, I'll post it with the YouTube.
Great. I've got a link to the original post. I'll send that to you.
Thank you.
Great. So just while we're sitting together, I was just so somewhere in my head, I'm in a warm barn with a whole bunch of pigeons just cooing. And I was just really aware of that sort of feeling of nothing we have to do. And Kathy. Hey, Kathy.
Hi, there, I got it.
You did.
Thank you for your offering, Trudy. I was intrigued by your kind of request that we just well, more than just, that we actually let an experience kind of wash through us
Yeah.
rather than trying to make sense of it. And just this week, I had 4 people visiting my home for 5 days from Slovakia. And most of them did not speak English. So there was one of them was a translator. And so I had no choice but to sit and to listen and to not understand, but to be at the same time engaged and curious. And it was really interesting. I think what it brought forth in me and what they told me was that it brought forth patience and also kindness.
There's something in the tone in which you're speaking about it that just feels so generous and like something opened
Mm-hmm.
in that place.
It's true. It's true. With even, with a real limit in language, we became very intimate with each other. It was so hard to say goodbye, And so I think I'm thinking, thank you for that kind of invitation to continue that practice in whatever way I can, because it was quite beautiful.
Yeah, and there's
And,
it's touching.
yeah, I'll be feeling that silent presence for a long time. Their silent presence for a long time. It was beautiful. And I also I missed the name of the author who wrote the poem Intention, and I wanted to ask you.
Yes, it was another Rosemary Watola trauma.
Okay, yes. Perfect. Thank you.
Both of them were from her tonight.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have Sue. Oh, you've just muted yourself again. There you go.
Got it. Well, thank you. This really was very interesting because most of my life I've been called a dreamer. Just get to it. Don't be such a dreamer. Yeah. So for you to suggest we listen but not listen, but just the feeling, because there are many places I have been and people that I've been with, and I probably can't remember their name. I might not remember a single thing about what was said, but I have a feeling.
Yeah.
I remember walking up to somebody and thinking, oh, I feel so warm with this person. And this happens all the time, and I'm just sort of off in my my little world, and so I perhaps have gone a little too deep, but nonetheless, it was just, and thinking about the poem about the going down by the river and listening to the water, and it was just yes. It was very reaffirming.
Yeah.
Although it's something I might want to take a look at. A little
So
more.
it's that I was thinking about, it's like, how do we have that soft, open awareness and presence,
And presence.
that Kathy was describing with her guests, it's like,
Yes.
I'm here, and there is a kind of daydreaming that takes us away, and there is a presence and openness that connects us. And when you're describing feeling connected through it, and something really delicious
Yeah,
happens.
it does. It really is kind of amazing, and it's nice to think about it and not be kind of ashamed of myself because I should be doing something.
What if this was your gift? What if this was your gift to the world that only
Well,
Sue can offer?
perhaps it is. That's a nice way to think about it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's sometimes hard to sort out what might be a gift when you have shame and uh, thinking otherwise in your head.
But to
Oh,
treat
I
that
like it.
dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thank you. This was it was very enlightening.
Good. Thank you. Marla,
Hi, Trudy.
hi.
I am so grateful for your fascination with words. I can't even tell you. The power of those two words, to listen softly,
Yeah.
was amazing physically. Everything changed about my experience of this because I had that invitation from you. It was astonishing. And so many different thoughts. Your use of words, I love, of course, and when you were describing the susurration as you listen, and it's relatively easy for us to expand our vocabularies and the way we describe things. I get into habits and patterns, and I'm a little bit eccentric about how I use words, and sometimes people don't really appreciate it, I don't think. But the point I'm trying to make is for myself is it was just a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that I kind of came to a truce with my own brain
Mm.
about the things that it had told me, the deficiencies, that there are people like you, poets, people with beautiful use of language, and I have this corporate, but dot 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 way of writing, and that's not as good, and that I'm deficient because I'm not a poet, and that there are artists and they have these talents. Since they were little children, they were able to draw these beautiful, creative, unimaginably valid works of art, and I can't draw a stick figure, and so somehow I was deficient because of that. And I've through my practice I've been saying, no, you know what, I'm not deficient. There are other things. I may not be able to recognize them, but I have a feeling that I'm okay because of the response I get from other people rather than the response I'm getting from myself.
And the longing you experience for those things, so, the beauty of words or art, it's a little bit, it's a bit like Sue's gift. It's like you know something about those things. That can't come from a deficient place. The longing is the thing you're offering, is seeing it and knowing it's there.
Yeah. It's the receiver and giver and gift thing. There is no art
Absolutely.
without a recipient of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So to be that, just your face looks so beautiful right now. Do you know what I mean? It's just like to have that sense of joy in those things is the offering. You don't have to
And
do that.
and that and people like you who have the talent, I just hope appreciate that in themselves, because if they were like me all those years, they might not have appreciated their own beautiful ways.
But aren't we infinitely good at appreciating what other people can do and not appreciating what we find easy? You know, it's like, just words. That whole thing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I hope you get some rest.
Thank you. Me too. Lynn, I think. There you go.
I'm desperately just wanting to say cool. Oh. You're such a lovely tired pigeon. Oh, I, I loved being the sleeping Buddha. I love that practice, and it kind of met with something that's been going on in my own process, I suppose. There's the question of, we see silence as absence, or we can, and we see stillness as absence of movement. And I think the question that's been going on for me is, what if they're not absence at all? What if the stillness and the silence are entities from which these other things arise? And it felt like that when we were doing the sleeping Buddha. It felt like the just being in the stream rather than trying to swim.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, my immediate thought was, do you think there's silence? I was really curious about the notion of, is there actually silence? I don't think I've ever been. I think there's a chamber they can put people in where they suck out all the noise and people go mad in it, because we actually don't, there isn't silence in our world, because there's just the sound of our own breathing or whatever. And there's no place where there's not movement, because we're little peristaltic beings, aren't we? So something's always moving.
So it's not really a stopping.
No, can't be.
It feels more like the stream.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking about holding Jasper's little dead head in my hands when we were at the vet's, and his whole body did that thing of going completely still. But then knowing that actually that's just the microbes are going to start working, and you know, even that stillness is not permanent.
So they're illusions.
I think so. Well, in a world of impermanence, stillness and silence have to be illusions, don't they?
And not absences, I think.
Not absences.
Not absences. No,
No.
of course, there isn't such a thing as absence.
Some horrible man-made chamber where you could have it, but other than that. But yeah, so that practice of like, they are the place that things arise from and fall back into, arise from, fall into.
Yeah, I think that kind of also fits with I've been kind of noticing where I think something is ending. And again, that's another another illusion. Like, this is finished and that has started is not real.
No. And things do end, don't they? You know, and
Well, they change.
and they change.
Mm.
There's a becoming, isn't there? There's a constant becoming.
Yeah. Jasper is no longer here with you.
No. No. His body is.
But you're still holding his head in your body.
And his ashes have arrived back. So we have a very diminutive, much less lively, doesn't need feeding form.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rosemary for our last few minutes, I think.
Hi, Trudy. Thank you so much. The invitation to, let's see, I've got a little emotional. To let the content go.
Yeah.
It creates a lot of vulnerability. I think my thought, well, for me, it's like being read to.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, I was just waiting in this little space in between Lynn and me, being all of us being read to by you. I was away this weekend with some friends, and late on Saturday night, two of us were kind of just together. One other person was sleeping, and she said, "Oh, there's this book here. So, well, did you bring that book?" No, it was left by the person who we rented the place from. "Oh, I really like this book. Oh, can I read you a story?" And she did, and I was half asleep, but I was really enjoying being read to. And we left, and now we're home. And I thought that was, I think, the best part of my whole weekend.
Yeah. There's like that part that wants to know that can drive you so hard, and then this other place that is like, what if I just knew enough already? What if I could just be read to? Yeah, what if life was reading to you?
Wow. Talk about being silent and still to receive all that,
Yeah.
making space. That's a beautiful thought. I'll hold that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So much.
There's a line from a really well-known Mary Oliver poem about the end of Wild Geese, and it says, "The world offers itself to your imagination over and over again." And that for me is that sense of like life is offering it to us if we pay attention, soft attention. We listen soft, not listen hard. So I'm so appreciative of everyone being here tonight, today, this morning, whenever it is, yesterday. But thank you all for being with us and for your practice. So I shall attempt to finish with the practice principles. Who knows? Might even get through it. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher. Being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. So thanks Nellie for being our monitor and holding all of this space for us, and I'll hand over to Nellie, and thank you all for being here. And I really look forward to when I'm sitting here again and being with you. Thank you.